Hello and welcome to the Embodied Shakti Summit. I'm Sama Morningstar and I have Erika Maizi here with me, also known as Erika Amazing. I love that. Oh, it's so awesome. And so, Erika, I would love for you to, well, first of all, I've known Erika for quite some time. You were a guest speaker in my first summit, weren't you? But I think that you were a member of my group from before that as well. And we connected. So over the past few years, we've collaborated a number of times. And it's always just a pleasure to be with you. And so I would love for you to introduce yourself more and share with us what Embodied Shakti means to you.
Yeah, hi Sema. Thank you for having me. Yeah, on this Shakti. Like you introduced myself so beautifully, Erika Amazing, Erika Maizi, but I thought amazing, it's more beautiful. And that's how I also call my website actually. So, what the Shakti means to me is actually symbolized perfectly with my dress, which I'm currently wearing. It has got 7 goddess symbols from the Slavic tradition. The goddess is called Berginis, and at birth each has got 7 of these 27 Berginis at her birthbed. And those goddesses, Berginis, they represent certain powers in them. And in the Slavic tradition, women embroider those powers, those goddess powers, in the dresses, or in the different textiles to connect with those certain powers. So for me, this dress is embodied Shakti in itself. So that's what it means to me.
Wow. So, and this fabric arts, and we've talked, you've shared a lot with me about it, but for people who are new to these ideas, I would love to hear you share about this practice of embroidering these symbols into a garment. Or I know that you have other things like this headband and other fabric arts that are also very much embodied Shakti. I would love to have you share about how the practice of stitching these symbols helps you to embody Shakti within your body and into your life, and how wearing the dress or wearing the headband or having the pieces that you've made in your life helps you to really embody those goddess energies and feminine powers into your life. And it could be that, I know you might say something about how the actual practice of the stitching itself is an embodiment practice. So please share more about that.
Well, for me, it's a very sacred practice, embroidery. So I always do a certain meditation. It's called a Hul meditation. Hul is from Old Nordic Germanic language, and it also stands for Frauholle. Hul is also Höhle, it's a cave. So I connect the cave, it's also the womb, you can say. So I always start to connect to the Hul meditation with Mother Earth, to really go into this center of nothingness, of darkness, where also everything springs out. And so I connect with this meditation for about 10 to 15 minutes to be in this center of the womb. And then I start to get like from this nothingness And so it's, for me, it's like inviting in the muse. And then I start to get symbols which to embroider. And then once I get this message what to embroider, then I start to stitch. And it's more like being a channel for these messages and symbols, which then get manifested in the fabric. So it's a very sacred process.
So it feels like these symbols are a message, are messages and medicine, really, magical powers and medicine coming through your womb portal directly from spirit, from the goddess, as sort of instructions. Okay, now you need to embroider this. This symbol is important for you to embroider. And so I'd love to hear about your experience of receiving some of these symbols and the meanings that they have for you, and how just embroidering the symbols and wearing them or seeing them displayed, the effects that has, the healing effects or transformative effects that has had for you. I know it's quite potent. You've shared with me before, so I would love to hear more about that. If you have, especially if you have any specific stories where you're struggling with something, and then you do your meditation, you receive a symbol, and the pieces start falling together and the struggle starts to dissolve.
Well, for me, it was very, very empowering and illuminating when I found out what the symbols actually mean, in which powers they stand for. Like to a soul tree horoscope reading, I was given my 7 symbols, and they are like with the tree, the world tree Yggdrasil. The lower 3 symbols, they are like the roots, our ancestral powers coming from the roots. And then here in the center, it's my main power. And then here on the sleeves, it's like in a tree, it's like the wings, the crown. So very practically, those symbols also are a combination of movements. They're called shaping wings. They're like shamanic movements. So it powers in, like I do that also every day, to invite those powers in my life, that they really get embodied. Yeah, a very good example. I'm in the midst of writing a book at the moment. So it was like a ritual to me that I put on this dress. And one of my archetypal powers is the muse. That's this for the muse. To come and communicate to me and express to me. And it's a very magical process, because I really feel that the creativity just flows and I can write the book really free. So that's a good example. And it's the same with like when I embroider as well. If I embroider for other people, then I also connect intuitively with this womb, and also with the source above. And then I receive a symbol for this person. And then I start to embroider this certain symbol for the person.
And have you had experience with receiving symbols for other people and having them receive it and experience the power of receiving that symbol in their life? Has anyone shared with you, wow, you gave me this symbol and now this or that seems easier or different to me?
Yes, I've got a very good friend. I also am a soul-based coach. So I'm currently doing for the last couple of months, which I call Weaving Destiny Calls, where with the help of soul-based coaching, we together dive into the destiny of this person I'm talking to. And I also give self embroidered symbolism of 27 goddesses to this person. And well, a good friend of mine, I provided her with this symbol, and it had a very lasting effect on her, that she's now doing her own logo for her own kind of work based on this symbol. And there is still more and more like more and more information coming from the symbol to her as the time develops. So, and this combination with soul-based coaching, and also the symbol provides like by magic.
That's your
information
magic.
About own soul's purpose and so on, soul's calling. Yeah, about this like symbolic language in a way.
Yeah.
It's not like proper like answer like that's what you do now, this is your destiny. It's about connection with your own soul, which communicates through metaphors, or in my case through symbolism. And by putting attention on the symbolism, it shows itself, like if by magic, as it starts to unfold in life.
Right. And you know, I want to share a little bit about the part of our human apparatus, if you will, that connects with symbolic communication is often it's the subconscious brain. Especially, I mean, our logical thinking brain has learned how to use certain symbols for meaning, like letters, and to make words. And we have a whole host of symbols that we all recognize to mean certain things. But having a personalized symbol that we may not even know, have a conscious knowing of what that symbol means, it evokes this deeper knowing or deeper understanding, and may even arise from that deeper understanding that has a whole different set of powers than the logical thinking brain, right? And so it comes from more like the dream state, or this intuitive connection with the womb state. Yeah. So these symbols are coming from a different place, and yet they give us the same kind of it sounds like they're giving people the same kind of organizing meaning and understanding as, say, words do when you have a thought and you're able to put it into words and maybe write it down. That gives that thought some substance, right? And so these feelings, these states, these healing energies that we're wanting to bring into our lives, as we're given one of these symbols or a set of these symbols, it brings it into substance. It feels like. Am I summing it up pretty well?
Yes, pretty well. That's how I experience it as well. It's a little bit like shamanic journeying or lucid dreaming. If someone here has got experience with that, it's like it's not something logical. It dwells in a fairy tale or like in a dream. Yeah, and then you have to follow like the crumbs, or intuitively go and follow the signs, and then spirit guides appear, or like certain images appear where you follow those images, those symbols.
And I bring that up, the distinction between the logical thinking approach to things and this subconscious, shamanic, some say, or you used another term there, I can't remember, but this intuitive side of things. And that a lot of people have trouble trusting in that intuitive side of things as something valuable. But what I like to share about that is that part of our brain is 90% of our brain or more. The logical thinking part of our brain is just this little 10% of our brain. So we have this whole other resource that's huge and largely unaccessed, that these types of practices that have been, I mean, this, you've studied this practice from you know, grandmas and great-great-grandmas out in Siberia, that the tradition goes back thousands of years of memory that we're accessing. And oftentimes those are the kinds of things we need to heal, that are holding us back, that are hindering our full soul's expression, our potentially woundings or traumas that happened generations back. So these ancient traditions are often what can give us the medicine, right? They're the ones that were lost because of that trauma, and then they hold the medicine for these generational traumas that we're often dealing with, helping us to get back to some of these origins, some of these strengths that were lost. So it's so wonderful that you are vitalizing these ancient traditions, because these are just grandmas up in Siberia, right? That nobody would hear about or know about if it weren't for you getting on video summits and sharing about them, right?
Yes, I suppose so.
Could you share a little bit about your trip to meet these grandmothers, and how you learned some of these shamanic symbol embroidery traditions?
Yes, it started for me like as a path of remembrance, of picking up my own unique life threads again. 17, I've done a crowdfunding campaign because I've heard the calling to go back to my roots. I'm originally from Kazakhstan, and so I did this trip with the Trans-Siberian Railway to Siberia, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia, where I was planting seeds at certain power places. Is also a way for me to connect with the land, with my own ancestral roots in those countries, which is also part of the healing, actually, of my unrootedness, going back to really strongly get back to my roots. And on this trip, I was starting to embroider my destiny rug, which I started to learn from a Russian lady. And it was for me really like a path of remembering. And I heard a calling, like, go back to find out more about this symbolism, this embroidery. And that's where I continued to learn in Siberia. In Kazakhstan, where I'm actually from, I have not found this women yet. And I'm going this summer again. I'm still searching for women to learn from in Kazakhstan. And the funny experience was in Mongolia, there is a tribe of Kazakh people. And they're embroidery, but they're living in Mongolia up at the Altai Mountains. And that's where I had the privilege to learn the Kazakh style of embroidery in Mongolia in 2017.
Wow.
Yes.
I imagine you're learning lots of history of why that Kazakh people went to Mongolia, or, you know, the migration and what happened, and why, you know, why is that happening in Mongolia and not in Kazakhstan? You know, why is it so difficult to find it in Kazakhstan? Find these grandmas who are still embroidering.
Well, it's actually quite easy, because around the Altai mountain regions, there are still the oldest traditions. It's either in Kazakhstan or in Siberia or in Mongolia or in China. I'm still another big dream of mine, of those different tribes around the Altai mountain region. And the most shamans and the longest animistic or shamanic tradition, it's also known as Tengrism, it all comes from the Altai mountain region. And you can say they've got the longest blood ancestral line, and that's why there's also still a very long tradition of those old crafts, old crafts.
Uh-huh. And so
it's like a very powerful place, the Altai Mountain region.
And does Kazakhstan have some of that mountainous region in its borders?
Yes.
So, but you just haven't found the people that are still doing that there yet.
Well, I visited my family, and they're living by the mountains, but not by the Altai Mountain region. So that's why I was not able to meet like shamans, so to say, or like those tribes with this very long tradition yet.
So I'm curious.
But that's why it's still my calling, my dream, which I'm still gonna, hopefully gonna fulfill this dream step by step.
And so I wonder, when you go to these places, how do you meet the shaman of the village, right? Do you just show up and say, hey, take me to your shaman, or how do you go about that?
No, it took me quite a lot of research beforehand, before I went on the trip. Like, for example, this old shaman lady in Mongolia I met through a woman. She runs an alternative little travel agency, and she knew someone in Mongolia who knows this shaman lady. So that's how I made the contacts beforehand.
So you made the contacts, you reached out and said, can I meet you when I come? And she said,
yes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Because I needed a translator as well. I cannot speak Mongolian, and certainly not the Tengri language from the tribes people. So that was very helpful for me beforehand. To have somebody.
Gotcha.
Yeah, go with me.
Yeah, especially when you're starting to talk about, I mean, so in the Mongolian tradition, is it the same symbols that you were talking about, where you have the tree of life and the Yggdrasil and all that? No, they have a whole different set of symbols?
Total different set of symbols.
So, go ahead.
So far, I have discovered already, I started to paint them and to document it, because my dream is to have like a database starting with the symbolism from those old traditions in the Altai Mountain region, but which is going to gradually be developed by all different countries in the world. So this old symbolism language is going to be relived again. And the symbols are really very, very different in each tribe, because a lot of times those are also representing animals, and they are the animals which are on those particular countries. For example, in Siberia, it's like this animal like a reindeer, and in Kazakhstan, it's the Aries. The Aries symbols, which actually look like a heart. Yeah, that's a very common symbol, but it's only particular in Kazakhstan. So
interesting.
It very much is dependent on what the people see around them, where they live.
Right, so it's very embodied. It's very much, these symbols are very much from the lived experience of the people.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Wow. And so these, this lineage of, you were talking about the 27, I forget the name, but the 27 symbols, energies, powers that you receive at birth. What tradition is that from? What people is that tradition from? And did you receive that initiation from a shaman of that tradition?
They are from the Slavic tradition. 27 Bereginis. It's a Russian word for goddesses. And those were not shamans, but there are two Russian women who happen to also live in Germany. who pass on this very long tradition from the Russian background, Slavic background, but I translated it also into German.
Uh-huh.
And I've received my soul tree horoscope reading from them with my own 7 symbols. And that's where I've got the 27 symbols from. But my own unique calling was to embroider those symbols. I use those symbols in my destiny calls.
Oh, interesting. So they're not really doing an embroidery approach to the symbols. This is you're the one who's putting the symbols you got from this tradition, from the Slavic tradition, with these ladies that you met in Germany who gave you this reading. Then you said, okay, I'm going to embroider these symbols from this source. And then, but now you're learning a whole different set, a bunch of different sets of symbolic communication from embroidery based. Are these shamans in Mongolia, are they doing embroidery? Or are you just learning from them and then putting it into embroidery yourself?
No, the embroidery I did learn from Mongolia as well. It's from this Kazakh tribe. Obviously there are shamans and also like a tribe like of women who are still practicing this art.
Okay, so in some of the, I wonder if the Russian Slavic origins of the 27, tell me the word again.
Bereginis.
Bereginis? Bereginis, did I say it right?
Bereginis.
Bereginis. If there are some origins, like if you went back far enough in the tradition, I wonder if there were some grandmas embroidering the 27 bereginis into the baby blanket each time someone was born. I mean, it can't be. I mean, it's all from that same region, right? So I imagine that you're not the first one to embroider the 27 bereginis. You know?
No, certainly not, because I did learn how to embroider the destiny towel. It's called rushnik in the Slavic tradition, and that's why I also received the symbols from this Russian lady. And I know that those symbols in a very long tradition have been always embroidered or still being embroidered. But those 27, which I have learned from only these two Russian ladies, they are not embroidering them. But I continued what I've learned from my destiny towel. I just continued in my own unique calling to embroider them as well, because we are speaking today about the embodiment, and the embroidering itself is for me so much a process of embroidering. It's like really manifesting the symbols and what they are like carry written in the symbols in the here and now. Like stitch by stitch, is a very powerful manifestation or embodiment practice.
And not only for you personally, but it feels like as you're picking up the threads of all of these different traditions, and you know, this symbolic language and that symbolic language, and that, you know, even with these ladies that you got your 27 bereginis from, they lost the thread of embroidery there. They're not embroidering their bereginis, but you picked up that thread knowing that it's obvious that this is an embroidery practice, right? And so I just really see you as this collector and weaver back together of this common feminine embodiment practice of embroidery. It's just so beautiful. I get so excited.
I get goosebumps because now, like, listen to you, like my most powerful initiation was actually with the 3 Norns. Those 3 Norns, they sit at the root of the world tree, and
Okay, that should work better.
Yeah. Oh, just now I had goosebumps when you described those image like of me sitting there and bringing together those threads. That's actually like something which I experienced, which was for me the most powerful experience, which I call like an initiation so far. And it comes from the three norns, and particularly the norn which stands for the present, Vedanti. For the ones who don't know the three norns, in Nordic mythology, there are like three giantesses representing the past, as the Urd, and Vedanti for the present, and for the future, it's Skuld. And they're sitting at the root of the world tree, which is called Yggdrasil in Nordic mythology. And they are very, very powerful because they're, it is said that they are weaving all the destiny from all living things, even the giantesses, all spirit beings, angels, actually all threads in the universe, which in Nordic tradition has got 9 dimensions and therefore also 9 branches on the world tree Yggdrasil. They are weaving actually all the threads of all living things. That's incredible in itself. Like you said, like sitting there and bringing together the threads. What happened to me when I returned from my trip to Siberia and Kazakhstan, Mongolia, I started to continuously research about this women holding their thread, symbolism, and that's when I came across the three norns. And like in a dreamlike state or like in a vision, especially the middle one, Vedanti, who's standing for the present, she appeared to me and she had a very strong message to me, like very similar to what you said, that my calling is now to go and help especially other women to pick up their own threads. These are ancestral threads which goes back to the origin of time. Yeah, so it has been a very powerful experience to me, and she's become a very dear giantess, goddess to me, and where I connect with on a regular basis. And yes, it was a very powerful message which I received through her.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us. And thank you to the Norns for helping us with the technological glitches we were having there. For a moment, we stopped and said a little prayer, and it seems to have helped a lot. So I wanted to invite you to share a little bit about if you have a free gift for subscribers to your new subscribers to your mailing list to learn more about your work.
I'm actually writing a book at the moment. I finished my first draft of my very first book about all those experiences which we just very briefly touched upon in this interview. And it's actually called The Weirding Way, The Mysterious Destiny. And weirding is that what the three nuns are doing when they're weaving the destinies. So I don't want to give away everything. So I think a free gift could be, for example, a chapter from this book, or maybe also a free goddesses reading from my 27 Piriginis symbols, which we also touched upon. But I don't want to give price of everything. Since my book is also called Mysterious Art, I like to keep it mysterious. So let yourself be surprised.
All right. So, and that gives you some creative freedom too, as people sign up to offer your gifts in your unique way. So beautiful for the mysterious, potentially weirding way gifts of Erika. Please sign up for her mailing list above this video. There'll be links for that. And also check out in the Womb-Centered Healing Temple, Erika and some other members there, including myself, have been organizing stitching circles. If you haven't yet attended one of those, highly recommended checking it out in the Womb-Centered Healing Temple, because there are stitching traditions from all over the world that are coming together. We have a member from Brazil that's bringing her stitching traditions from the 13 grandmothers, and other members from the US and other places in the world that we're gathering together to revivify, to relive, to enliven these ancient feminine traditions, and pick up all the threads all around the world. So that's the vision today. I feel my vision and my calling is very similar in this weaving the threads all around the world. And so no surprise that we're here collaborating on that. So thank you so much, Erika, and thank you everyone for listening in and participating in the summit. And many blessings, and may we weave together our destiny. All right. That's all for now. Until
holding the thread together.
yes, holding the thread together. All right.